Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm Brad Lone Wolf, and today you join me in my garden. You kind of have to join me in my garden for this video because what I'm about to do, although not illegal, is kind of frowned upon if you do it in just any old public space. So in front of me there you can see three bows, and I want to talk about the viability of each of these bows in a survival situation, both in terms of advantages and disadvantages. But before I do that, a couple of rules and a couple of things about bows in general in the UK. I'm going to talk about the laws regarding the UK as opposed to the four separate countries, because I think at the moment, I could be wrong, but at the moment the law surrounding bows is all the same for all four countries. Basically, do you need a license to own a bow? No, you don't. You can just buy a bow, providing you are over 18 or over 16. I can't remember which. But you can own a bow without a license, essentially. But the thing that you can't do with a bow is you cannot go bow hunting. So you can't go and start shooting animals with bows. There is a way kind of around that, and that is field archery. And instead of hunting live animals, you actually hunt 3D targets. So it's a way of giving you the impression of bow hunting without actually bow hunting. If I ever get the chance to actually do some field archery, I will go and do that, and I'll obviously do a video of it as well. So each of the bows that you see in front of me are the one that I made on the channel. The video is still up on YouTube. Factory made recurve bow, and obviously a compound bow, factory made of course. Universal advantages to bows is they are silent, and certainly for these two, and I'll come on to this in a minute, you can actually remake your own ammo. Universal disadvantages is, with the exception of the compound bow, they actually take a lot of skill, a lot of practice to start hitting your targets correctly. It's not impossible, but it does take a lot of practice, particularly once you start getting out to distances. And on that note, I'm going to move in front of the camera now, and I'm going to talk you through each of the bows in front of me and the advantages and disadvantages of both. We're going to start with the self bow. So, this is a self bow. You saw me make this one on the channel. This one's PVC, made out of PVC pipe, but you can make it out of wood, of course. This one, the draw weight on this one is only about £30. Now I say only about £30. It's good enough, but you can certainly do better. This one where it's made out of PVC pipe, obviously it is round, so when you come to shoot the arrow tends to want to swing round. So that's something you've got to think about. Above and beyond the Archer's paradox. Archer's paradox I'm not going to explain here. You can, if you Google it, it's actually a really good explanation of what an Archer's paradox is on Google. But this is the self bow, as I say. The advantage to this one is you can actually make it yourself. You don't need anything more than, well, in my case I didn't need anything more than a saw to make this one, but if you're going to make it out of wood, you can use knives, axes, saws, anything to give yourself a little bit of an advantage. You can even make the string yourself. Obviously this being talking purely in a survival situation now, you can use the sinews of animals to create your bowstrings. In this case, this is just made out of bog standard paracord, same as the handle there, just made out of paracord. Another advantage to these is you can make them as powerful as you want. In this case, like I say, this one's about £30, but you can bring them down to 15, maybe even £10, so that you can start getting your practice off. And and once you start doing that, obviously you can start making them stronger and stronger. But like I say, this one's about £30. And the advantage is that you can make it yourself. You don't need any real professional tools. So I'm going to put that one back up on there. Make sure it doesn't slip down. Moving on, got the professionally made or the factory made recurve bow. Now this one is a little bit stronger than the south bow, but not much. It's actually only £34, sorry. But that's certainly good enough. The advantage to this one is, as you can see, we've got a nice arrow rest there, which the south bow doesn't have. That actually aids the accuracy. It's flat there, which means again aids the accuracy. Doesn't stop Archer's paradox though. Now, like I say, I'll give a brief explanation, but Google does a much better job than I can of Archer's paradox. The string is again factory made, so you haven't got the issue of that breaking. You have got the issue of it stretching, but not necessarily breaking. Disadvantage to this one though is that the string being factory made is also a problem in that if it breaks, you may not be able to replace it. Another disadvantage, of course, is that once the limbs have worn out on this, not that they will, but eventually they will wear out, but not as quickly as this one, then the bow's kind of useless, kind of. But again, this, going back slightly, this one still takes skill to master, but not as much as what that one does. So that is the recurve. Personally, out of all three, this one's actually my favourite, because it's the one I've had the most practice on, and probably the one I'm best at. So, factory recurve. This is a compound bow, as many of you probably know. It's the heaviest out of the three because it's all made out of metal. It's also the strongest. It's actually a £55 draw weight, which means that I have to use to begin with. I have to use £55 of force. When it gets to there, it actually lets off really, really nicely. Out of all three bows, it is the most powerful. Like I said, it's £55. So when it's shot down range, I only got £55 pressure on the bow, as opposed to 34, as opposed to 30. Being compound as well, it tends to be more accurate over distance. Obviously the sights help with that as well. I can put sights on this one, but I choose not to. But the sights certainly help with this one, with the accuracy of this one. The disadvantage of these though, the advantage, as you can see, it's much smaller, tends to be more accurate over distance, and it's more powerful given the compact, even though it's a compact size. Disadvantage, when these cables start to go, there's no way of replacing them. Remember, I am talking about a survival situation here. There may be no way of replacing these cables, so it's something to bear in mind. Another disadvantage of these is the power may put some people off. Only may put some people off, because this does have a little bit of a, kind of call it a kick. As you release the string, you can kind of feel the bow go. So you shoot the bow and it goes as the whole inertia pulls the bow forward. The biggest disadvantage to a compound bow though, you cannot make your own arrows. So a compound bow can only use aluminium or carbon fibre arrows. You try making your own, the arrow can split. Because of the forces involved, the sudden forces involved, you can actually end up splitting your arrows if you make them from wood. I'm not saying it will, just saying it may. So that is the disadvantage to the compound bow in terms of a survival situation. In terms of arrows, moving on slightly. In terms of arrows, the only arrows you can legally buy in the UK as far as I know, are these ones. And the reason I say as far as I know is because, like I say, bow hunting is illegal in the UK, so technically we can't get hold of any hunting arrowheads. Now, these 3 arrows, as you can see, the top one I've made myself and can be used in both the longbow and the recurve. I've made it myself. I do keep meaning to make a video on how I made these, but honestly, A, I keep forgetting, and B, I haven't yet made the natural glue that I want to use to make these, and that's my own fault. Obviously these 2 are factory made. This one's one of my Jazz Eastern arrows. Other archers will obviously know what Jazz Eastern is. It's kind of a beginner's arrow, but I use it because it can be used in both, in fact all 3 arrows. Again, professionally factory made. Because I used to teach archery, and because people wanted to always have a go with my bow, I bought these cheap, nasty arrows so that basically people could shoot these arrows and break them and I wouldn't care, as opposed to these ones. And like I say, other archers out there know like how expensive one arrow can be. So price of I think if I remember rightly, when I bought these, they're about £40 for 8, as opposed to 10 of those for, I think it was 15 quid. So you can kind of understand why I've got loads and loads and loads and loads and loads of these, and only a few of them. And obviously, like I say, wooden arrow that I made myself. I'm actually quite happy with that one. When I fire it from the recurve, it actually flies quite nicely. When I fire it from here, from the longbow, you can actually see how much it curves round. And if you watch the video I did on the super secret weekend, you'll actually see me shooting these arrows first time I shot them. So you can see kind of what a difference it makes. But in terms of my favourite, well, they're kind of all my favourite really. This one because I made it myself. This one because it's the one I'm best with, and that one because it's a compound bow and it's good fun to shoot. In terms of survival though, survival and bushcraft, which one would be best? I kind of think you can guess which one it will be, and it's going to be a self bow, mainly because you can actually build it yourself and you don't need specialist tools. These 2 would be fantastic in a survival situation, but like I say, once the cable's gone on that one, or you've lost your arrows, it's kind of useless. This one, once the string has gone, again, unless paracord actually works, I've never tried it with paracord, but unless paracord works, or you can get some sinew, again, kind of useless. That's really about it. So want to thank everybody for watching, and I will catch you next time. Bye for now.